Welcome to Beers with Contractors. We're cracking a cold one and taking a deep dive into the foundations of your business, pun intended, to unearth the strategies, techniques, and insider knowledge that can take your contracting business to the next level. So, grab your favorite beer, pull up a seat, and let's have a chat about the nuts and bolts of the construction industry.
Anyways, beers. More beers, please. Sorry, tradies. We have been through technical purgatory for the last 20 minutes getting pumped for today's show. And I'm exactly just that. I'm pumped for today's show because we've gotten so many questions about this. But first and foremost, we're going to start a GoFundMe for Dillon because he has got this piece of technology that came off the Mayflower. So a lot of our technical difficulties were coming from his Osborne 1. By the way, do you know what an Osborne 1 is, Dylan?
I have no idea. Can I put a floppy disk in it?
Google it. It's the very first laptop that ever entered the market back in 1981. So please, for the love of God, upgrade your laptop.
Yeah. Oh, wow. The Osborne one looks like a typewriter with the smaller screen than like your Motorola flip phone.
Oh, yeah.
That's
Did you Google it?
Oh, yeah. I looked it up. The cost is $1,800. Man, what a steal. That's going to be my next laptop.
Yeah, that was like the brick phone, but in laptop form. So, oh man, no, but we're good. That little technical stretch gave me a chance to start pre-gaming on the brewski. So, how was Wichita?
Wichita's great. The only thing about it is I forget Wichita has like literally every allergen known to man, it seems like. So, I was in Oklahoma City yesterday, came back, woke up this morning, and I was just whacked in the face over and over again and puffed up, and so on some allergy meds now, and I'm sure a beer will open the sinuses or something like that.
I am loving Oklahoma. My allergies have never been better, but everybody else here seems to be having an issue. But, you know, that's okay. That's just life. It's that time of year, too. Dog days of summer are right around the corner. But, hey, listen, before the show today, I have a friend of mine. We're in a networking contractors group, and he's got a gentleman that came to the group, and he wanted to talk about opening up his own home improvement business. And he's like, what are the things that I need to do to make sure that I'm checking all the boxes, so to speak? He was just kind of lost in the weeds of, well, I got to get an LLC, and I got to get an EIN, and I've got to open up a bank account. I need to get insurance. And, you know, I just started listing things out, but you're kind of the compliance expert and HR expert, because most of these folks, when they get started, they typically will hire one or two people. I mean, what are some of the big compliance things you've seen out there in the world that it's like top three things that contractors are really hurting themselves by not doing this when they start out?
Yeah, the top three that I would give: licensing and permits, building codes, and insurance requirements. Every contractor needs these things to protect themselves from liability. I've seen, contractors, a lot of them will get their start and they'll just say, hey, I need to make a quick buck. I can make more money, more profit if I don't pull the permits. But at the end of the day, you're going to get burned when a general contractor or you're a contractor in a particular trade. If you don't pull those permits, you will get burned eventually, and it's going to cost you dearly. Same with building codes and standards. There are shortcuts you can make, and the homeowner may not recognize them, but it's going to be a potential risk. And if that house burns down or something and they find out that it wasn't up to code, it's going to be your company back on the line. And the third piece, which is, I think, a no-brainer, but I've seen contractors wait way too long, is insurance. And, that takes a number of different pieces. You need general liability insurance for sure, but workers' comp insurance, sometimes bonding insurance. Again, each of these things are just saying, here's a potential risk. Do you really want to forfeit your livelihood, any other employees under you, because you get sued and millions of dollars are coming out of your business, or if you're not protected with something like an LLC, coming out of you personally?
Yeah, well, I'm glad you brought that up. And before you get to your third one of the things I spoke with this contractor was, he's like, hey, I'm just going to sub everything out. And he didn't realize that he needed to list or have those other companies show proof of workers' comp or general liability insurance, and make sure that all of the employees on his staff are covered by said insurance. Otherwise, an uninsured employee falls off a ladder. By the way, you know somebody that fell off a ladder recently, Dylan, right? Oh, never mind, that was you. But anyway,
we can go on.
But yeah, they fall off a ladder, and then like, hey, my employer doesn't have workers' comp insurance, so I'm going to, end up suing the homeowner or their homeowner's insurance. I mean, so I'm glad you brought that up because that came up today, and this individual didn't realize that. And by the way, that doesn't make the individual stupid. It just made him naive because there's so much stuff you got to do. But anyway, what's your third one?
Well, I already gave you three, but so
Oh, you
those
did?
three are, licensing, building codes, and then insurance requirements. But I will say maybe two others to think about. We talked about contract law a couple episodes back at the beginning of the episode. Really important stuff to know contract law. That's going to save you from risk and liability. And then the last piece maybe I'd add is just good record keeping. Conversations you've had with customers, but also, the record keeping of hours that are being worked by employees, the record keeping of, maybe HR files, that kind of thing. That's stuff that, when an employee separates with you and you don't have it, way more likely that you're not going to win that unemployment case because you just have nothing to bring to the trial. And so it's important to keep those records and make sure you review them with some sort of frequency. It doesn't have to be every week by any means.
Yeah. Well, this is not a paid paid commercial for this, but I found out about this new software called Rilla recently, and it is essentially an AI ride-along software. So you carry a badge or a mic on you, and it records and rides along with your employees through the appointments, and it documents all of the conversation that is happening. So you can use that for, number one, compliance, but two, you can use it for coaching and trying to help the employee get better through, role play, systems and processes, stuff like that. And I just found out about this last week. I was like, holy cow, this is nuts. Because if you could be on every single ride along, on every single estimate that is going on in your company, it's like, what's that worth to you? And that's just crazy because we can record every phone call on our voice over IP system, but we can't record in the house. But it's like, man, there's so much cool technology coming out. I think it's awesome. So,
yeah, that's great.
Well,
I'd leave this last plug. I have a good friend of mine that he started his business a couple years back, and when he started, he was not yet a GC. He didn't have the licensing for it, but he was studying for the test and basically operating like a GC, doing all the work that you would expect, just not pulling permits because he needed, to be a GC in order to do that. And in addition to that, he was even subbing out work, but obviously those contractors getting a little suspicious of, working for someone who's not licensed. And what it almost did was burn bridges down the line for him. Fortunately, he got his GC and the proper licensing, but some of those subs that he loved were starting to get a little on the fence about it. And so you have to be careful because you don't want to burn those bridges, especially if you're in a market that doesn't have a ton of subs that you could use. So the regulatory environment, although it's kind of blah, and it's not really that enjoyable to talk about, it's the thing that can really catch up to a company fast. So super important to pay attention to. And if you don't know it, do some Googling and talk to someone else that's lived it. You don't have to go spend a ton of money to a consultant. Just talk to someone else who owns a business about it.
Oh, yeah. I mean, last week we heard from Roger Wakefield. He's like, if you want to learn plumbing, just go to YouTube and learn plumbing. That's how he learned how to get 610,000 followers on YouTube. Was he just went to YouTube and asked, and then it just told him. And now look at the empire he's built. By the way, that was a load of fun last week.
Yeah, super great
with Roger. So anyway, we have so many contractors ask us about this, and it's so often when we talk about marketing, SEO, SEM, Google, heck, name your, acronym. There's so many in the marketing space that what I do is I just tell them, go talk to Ashley.
This episode is sponsored by Performance, the bonus system designed to increase profits for your construction company. Performance incentivizes your production team for more efficient installs and rewards them when they beat your preset labor goals. So no more milking the clock and no more unnecessary gas station trips. Performance drives your team to work harder and smarter. Every construction company on Performance has seen a 7% decrease in direct labor costs or more. Click the link in the description or visit performance.co to schedule your demo today. That's PER4MANCE.co. Reward your team, retain your team, grow your profits. Performance.
And poor Ashley's tried to do her job and run her consultancy, and all of a sudden she's getting bombarded with people. But our guest today is Ashley Herrera. She's a dynamic marketing manager who brings a wealth of experience and expertise to the table, specifically for home service businesses. So she's currently working with our team at Vesta. She's been doing this now for, goodness, how long, Ashley? 3 years? Going on 3 years?
I've been with Vesta for a little over 2 years, but I've been in marketing for about 8.
Yeah, so but this was kind of cool. She didn't come from home improvement. She actually came from the automotive marketing sector over to our fancy little foundation repair company, but finding a new passion and direction, obviously, Ashley. So she also has an impressive array of certifications. I'm going to slaughter this, Ashley, so please correct me, including Google Ads, Analytics, the fundamentals of digital marketing, and Ashley is also a certified digital marketing specialist by the Digital Marketing Institute. Woo, that's a mouthful. So she also owns a marketing consulting company called Herrera Marketing. So I am thrilled to dive into this because anytime we talk about marketing, I'm kind of like, I don't know, Ashley knows what to do. So let her do it, and then it always works out. So welcome to Beers with Contractors, Ashley.
Thank you for having me.
Cool. So first off, nobody wakes up one day and says, you know what, I can't wait to go do marketing. So why marketing?
That's a great question. So when I was in the automotive sector, I moved into what they call a BDC department, business development. And from that, it shifted into being an internet director. So I was overseeing all of our online strategies for basically advertisement and online inquiries for the vehicles we had in our inventory, and really just kind of found a love for it and the data and the analysis of it. And it's where I geek out. It's my favorite thing to do in the world.
That's super cool. I have to say, Ashley and I go back a couple of years as well. And actually, when we were looking to hire a marketing manager, one of the biggest pieces of advice that we got that I think if you're a medium to large size company, you should take to heart right here. If you're looking for a marketing manager or director, you're not looking for a content creator. And Ashley is very data driven. She wants to know the analytics. And I think that's a huge part of being successful in that managerial position. So Ashley, I got to just start out. Let's just start from the basics. Can you explain SEO, what it is, why it's important for construction companies?
Sure. So SEO is search engine optimization, and it's the practice of constantly improving your website so that you are driving relevant keyword search terms when a user is searching for your product or service that your company provides online.
Now, break this down even more for me, Ashley. So, because it's kind of funny when I hear SEO and I'm like, all right, you just got to push content out there. But you've done a very good job of explaining, no, people genuinely are searching to solve a problem. And the information that you put out there is intended to drive them towards those results. So, what are some good examples that are low-hanging fruit that anybody could do on their SEO stuff? Because, by the way, let's talk about this real quick. We went through the COVID years. Things are crazy. Now we're back to reality. And multiple sectors of the home service industry, the leads are down. And that's what you're seeing right now through your research. Is that right, in analytics?
Yes. It's up year over year, but demand is down.
Yeah. And so now it's well, what can we do? And that's where SEO comes in. So what is the low-hanging fruit that a lot of contractors could do to drive some SEO?
Providing educational content and then doing quality keyword research. Take a peek at what your potential customers are searching for online and the keywords that they're using, and then create your content around that. Majority of the time, what we see, for instance, with Vesta is people have questions about foundation issues, or what's causing my door to stick, or this crack in my brick, or why is my floor sloping, and they want the answers to that. And we want to write content that's going to satisfy that user query.
So then this is SEO. That's a way to optimize it. How does that differ from SEM, and what is SEM?
Yeah, so SEM is search engine marketing, and it's actually a paid advertisement where you pay for placement on search engines such as Google. And you can pay to rank in various places depending on specific keywords. And the big difference between SEO and SEM is SEO is kind of a long-term, always stable solution to drive organic growth, whereas SEM can drive almost an immediate conversion for you and your business.
So I may be speaking a little out of turn here, but Ashley, you know this because I send folks to you. I mean, the most frustrating thing in my younger days was essentially I was taking a bunch of money and just putting it into some company, and supposedly they were supposed to make my phone ring. And then I don't know what they do with that money. And I think you find that with a lot of companies that you work with outside of Vesta. A good example would be, our friends in the garage door business are like, hey, we spent $48,000 in, pay-per-click advertising, and the phones aren't ringing. Like, what is going on? Like, what are you seeing when somebody comes to you and they say, hey, listen, I poured a bunch of money into SEO. I've got this company that I pay every month to do this, but they're just not getting results, and you're just burning cash. Like, what are the top few things that you're seeing?
I would say the biggest thing is not understanding how the two relate to each other and ensuring that you're continually optimizing both your search campaigns and your search optimization to make sure they tie hand in hand. And then ensuring that you're always inspecting what you expect. When I took over marketing at Vesta from you, actually, Will, it was very interesting to me when I said, well, let's take a look at your Google Analytics and see how your website's performing in these things. And you said, well, I've never looked at that.
And that's our show today, folks. Thank you for listening. I really appreciate Ashley, sponsored by Will getting thrown under the bus today. So, yeah, but see, that's the thing is, I'm like most contractors. I'm not better than anybody else. I don't know where the hell my Google Analytics are. It's like the damn flashlight when the power goes out at the house. It's like,
Right.
I don't know where the hell this thing is. So, I mean, I know there's probably contractors out of our 5 listeners probably sitting there thinking, I know where my Google Analytics are, but I have no fucking clue where they're at. So hold on. So let's crack that egg wide open. So Google Analytics, because you show it to me and it's just like, it's just information overload. So what the hell are you looking at in there, Ashley, to interpret the problem?
So your Google Analytics is what I like to call my single source of truth for anything to do with our website. It tells me how specific campaigns are performing or not performing, what needs improvement. It's going to tell me about like the user behavior and demographics, where the traffic to my website's coming from, and then essentially who's converting, who's submitting a lead with us or making a phone call to us, and who's not. And I look at that on pretty much a daily basis and make adjustments to any of our marketing campaigns as needed, whether it's SEM, SEO, social media. It's really a great place to get all of that data.
Now, Ashley, previous episodes, we've talked a little bit about artificial intelligence, and it feels like every week there's some like mega blockbuster that's just like changing the game for every industry, and we all don't know, and are we going to have jobs next year? We don't know. But I know something's coming down the pipeline. What is AI doing in terms of affecting SEO or SEM?
As far as affecting SEO or SEM, it's improving actually how search engines understand and rank content. And then AI-driven algorithms can analyze user intent more accurately. So it can understand specifically a user that's looking for your product or service that your business offers. And then from a marketer's perspective, AI tools can help me do keyword research. They can help me do planning, create content, write outlines, and then it helps me also personalize the user experience on our websites.
That's cool. So I do have another question, Ashley, but this popped into my head. Like, you got to work with Google under, I guess, a pilot program. Is that right? Mm-hmm. But directly with the Google overlords, because they're not evil or anything, right? As they're hoarding all this cash, it's crazy. What are some of the like creepy things that you have noticed about things that are just tracked with browsing behavior? And like, just how deep does that go? I don't even think I want to know. But what's some of the craziest stuff you've learned?
I think some of the craziest stuff I've learned would probably have to be the fact that a lot of people believe that there are browsers out there that allow you not to be tracked or for your information not to be tracked. And that's just simply not the case. It's tracked somewhere, somehow. It always is, whether you're using DuckDuckGo or a private browser, there's a history of that, and it can be found and uncovered. And then also when Apple came out with some of their new privacy regulations, and when you download a new app, I'm sure you guys have all seen, I'm not sure how Android does it, but it immediately asks you if you will allow it to track you. And people are like, oh my God, I don't want it tracking me. Like, who's watching me and they're going to see where I'm going. That has absolutely nothing to do with what that's asking you. It's essentially asking you to do what cookies have been doing since the invention of the internet and just tracking your user behavior. So then when you're served ads, searching online or things like that, it's serving you ads that are relevant to things that you want.
Well, that's fantastic. I know that every room just there's something that's recording us, and it's crazy. I'm not the type that likes having speakers like with recording going on. My phone, I'm going to turn it off if I'm having a really personal conversation or something. So that's fantastic. Yeah, love to.
After every episode, Ashley, Dylan walks over and puts his tinfoil hat back on, and then goes outside and plays with the baby.
I don't blame him one bit. I'm very cautious with things like that too. Like I don't even have a Ring doorbell camera because I understand the internet and how easily those things are hacked. We don't have cameras inside or outside of our home. It's just I get a little bit of that, Dylan. So I definitely relate with you on that level.
Yeah, but Dylan, and I'm sorry, I know you got a question, Ashley. I think you define this in a really good way. Like 90% of that tracking is really designed to sell you something, not just to grab your information and sell it on the black market. Like a large share of that is just to sell you stuff. It's driven by commerce, which is why when you started with us, it made me look at this and like, oh wow, we got to get like way better at this and understanding it. And I think we're one of the few companies that have SEO, SEM, Google Analytics, and all of our online advertising in-house, which I'm very appreciative of your help with that. So sorry, Dylan, go ahead.
Let's kind of shift to just lead generation in general. I'd love to hear, Ashley. I know there's a lot of ways that a contractor could spend money, that you have spent money. Obviously, Google, Facebook, Angie's leads, the list goes on and on. What do you find the most success in? How does a contractor kind of weigh one lead generation source over another?
To answer the latter part of your question, I would say definitely measuring it with KPIs, paying attention to your cost per acquisition on customers, and then your ROI as well, and cost per lead. That's all very important. You may have a source that you close 90% of the time, but it costs you $600 every time you get a customer. Is that really beneficial for you and your business? As far as success, I'd say that really varies from company to company. A lot of companies see success with Google Ads, with the paid media, because like I said earlier, it's instant results. You can drive traffic to your website as soon as you turn it on. And then Facebook's really good for reaching like a broader target audience and engaging with people who are already engaging with your brand or products or services. And then Angie's it's a third-party lead provider, but they're really good for homeowners that say, I know I have this problem, this is what I need, and they're looking for trusted contractors to work with.
I have to ask kind of the lead gen. You spend money on a lead, and I think of my time in human resources recruiting candidates, and we spend money on things like Indeed, and then an application comes in, and companies will just let that application sit for 2 weeks before they reach out to that lead, that candidate. And I'm sure there's something like that in terms of a turnaround time for you as well, where you're gonna lose money by just paying for leads and not following up with them in a certain speed. What is that speed? How fast do they need to follow up with these leads?
Again, I would say that varies by company. With Vesta, for instance, as a foundation repair contractor, we try to get to them within a few minutes of receiving the lead. I'd like to see that like 90 seconds or less. Our team does a fantastic job at doing that. However, there is some level set with the customer that, hey, if it's after 5 p.m. or after business hours, I feel like they know they can expect to hear from us the next day. Whereas like our garage door counterparts, they really need to be open kind of 24/7 and available for those customers when they need them. If the garage door breaks at 7 p.m. or 5:30 in the morning, and they have to tailor their business to that. So I would definitely determine what's important to your business and just kind of figuring out what process works best for your business through trial and error, of course.
So Ashley, there's a few things that's really interesting because I'm kind of old school. It's like, do we have the yard signs? Are we getting customer testimonials? Things like that. And I want you to settle a debate for me because I've wrestled with this a lot. I think a lot of folks try to concentrate too much on putting so much polish on customer testimonials and not just being an authentic video, even though it's echoing in the background. There's all sorts of stuff. I mean, what's your spin on that? Because I think all of us want to have some polish to our business, specifically to customer testimonials. it would be one of those where it's like, no, I think we need it genuine. But what's your take on it? And do the analytics show any different?
I would definitely say your testimonials, like your customer reviews and things, is how you build credibility and trust with potential clients. So being down to earth is very important, but just asking for them, show people, when's the last time any of us bought a product that we didn't read a review or two on it, especially when we're making larger purchases. So when homeowners are looking at contractors for whatever service their home might need, it's important that they find a company they feel like they can trust. And a lot of times those customers are going to go read your bad reviews first. So when you have those instances and you need to reply to those, be honest and transparent. And if you made a mistake as a company, kind of own it, because potential clients are going to look at that like, hey, they're really a down to earth, like customer oriented company.
Ashley, so we have this big umbrella that is marketing, and then there's a kind of subset umbrella under it of content marketing. Can you just kind of walk us through what that means to be content marketing versus kind of what you've already been talking about, and what companies do, basically how that content marketing leads to revenue?
Sure. So your content marketing is going to focus a little more on, like we discussed earlier, satisfying the user intent. What are your customers looking for? What's the information that they need to absorb? And then tailoring your strategy around that. So if it's videos and that's how they want to learn that information, or if it's publishing blog posts to your website that tell a story about foundation repair issues and their solutions. And then we do a lot of writing about our products and case studies where we talk about a customer's home, what the customer's problem was, why they called us out there, like why did they decide to get it repaired now, and then how we help them solve that. And so your content marketing is really important for customers so that they can absorb whatever information that you're trying to portray to them.
So in a lot of that, you're converting those also to not only just a video form or a written form, but then it's converting to social media. So like one testimonial or product can essentially fulfill the content demands of multiple things, right? So like if we got a testimonial today, and this is what's funny, before we started the show today, you mentioned something about TikTok, and I'm not on TikTok, but I guess like we get a review on Google, like you're stamping that in how many different areas right now?
We definitely put it out there. I think it's important that you're putting them all on your website because people are landing on your website. They're looking at that. And then we put it on social media, LinkedIn, areas like that. We'll post those. And then again, it's how you build credibility and trust with potential clients. And it has a lot to do with your Google ranking factors. So for instance, if we were a brand new foundation repair contractor in the Oklahoma City market, and someone else, a competitor, had been here for 10 years and they had a 4.9 Google rating and had 5,000 Google reviews from customers, they're going to rank a little bit higher than we are because we haven't shown Google yet that we can be trusted and that we're a credible business.
So, Will, you brought up a good kind of component of marketing, which is the testimonial and the review. Obviously, we all, when we Google something, we see the reviews right there. We're just, it's going to be right in our face, and subconsciously.
Oh, and dude, I'm one of those guys. I'm going to go right to the negative.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's see the crazy customers first. Let's go.
Right. What went wrong? And it doesn't matter how good you think you are as a contractor. Eventually, you're going to have that customer that's just you can't win them over. They're just going to give you the 1-star or the 2-star or whatever it is, and they're going to have a scathing review of your employees, even if your employees were close to perfect. Ashley, how do you respond to that? What do you do to kind of preserve the company name and to recover from that?
Yeah, and I want to add to it. There's certain people that want to get snide and snarky and like clever with these responses, but what's the best spin on it?
I think it's probably a mixture of both. I would be honest with the customer. Again, if it's a mistake that you made, own it. Other customers are going to appreciate that. But if there's someone that you just can't make happy, no matter what you do, say, listen, we did our best to try to satisfy or resolve this issue with you. And it appears that, we're just not going to get there. So thanks for considering us, but, maybe we'll see you again in the future.
That's crazy.
Sometimes you can go full Wendy's on them, when
I was going to say, I couldn't remember who it was. Yeah, they've got tons of sarcastic responses.
Yeah, and sometimes Sydney will tell me, she's like, just go Wendy's on them. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to do it.
Here we go. Hey,
But yeah,
so Google is looking at even that, even if it is snarky, the more engagement, the more it's going to lead those folks to it. And I know you've taught me that. It's like, hey, they left a review, and you were like, hey, well, they had pictures of the job. Can they put pictures of their job on the review? And then, of course, that increases the relevance of it. But we are bombarded as contractors every single week by like 20 companies saying, I reviewed your website, and it's no good, and I can do better. And it's not like we can jump ship, but they're like, man, you throw a rock and you hit somebody soliciting for this stuff. I mean, what are some of the things that we should filter through as contractors to say, hey, if a company approaches us about our website, what are the few things that we need to check the boxes and make sure, hey, if they don't fit this criteria, like, don't talk to them?
first I would ask for references, other companies that they've worked for, and find out how they did for them, see how those companies' websites rank. Just do a quick Google search for them, read through some of their content. Without having like a really in-depth technical like SEO knowledge, that's exactly where I would start. And then I would ask things like, how many new pieces of content are you saying that you'll be creating a month? And set measurable goals with them right at the beginning. Say, okay, I'm going to give you 90 days, but I want to see a 20% increase in organic traffic, or I want to see an X amount of increase in local search and things like that. And then hold them to it, and constantly inspect what you expect. A really basic Google Analytics course online, Google gives them out for free, just so that you can just kind of take a peek and have a general knowledge of understanding what you're measuring, and then hold them to it. And don't stay too long. If they're terrible, just cut them loose, because it can be detrimental for your business if you have a bad SEO company, and they can actually make you go backwards. And that's definitely not something any contractor wants.
God, that's scary.
I gotta pause here for a second, Ashley. You've given us a wealth of knowledge already, and I imagine everything that you said, contractors can do the opposite of. What do you see as like the most common errors that contractors make with the things that you're describing?
Not prioritizing consistent SEO and paying attention to it all the time. And then making sure that their website is very mobile friendly. Not many people are still using desktops, but for the most part, when you're reaching those customers, they're on like their phone or their tablet, things like that. Voice search is a whole new way, and optimizing for that. And then not putting enough stock into reviews and testimonials from customers, like the importance of those and how it can affect your rankings.
Now, this is interesting, though, because when we think about like these companies that want to come tell me how they're going to fix my Google click-through rate and conversions because I'm not ranking. But we also have the other side where they want to rebuild your site. And I just came out of a lunch meeting today. Someone is actually adopting a site in one of our nonprofits, and they spent $40,000 on this website. And I'm looking at it, and I'm like, what they do? Now, granted, if you're really tech savvy, I'm sure you could build your own website, but most of us aren't. I mean, what's kind of the general range that an in-home service company that wants to grow into multi-million dollars in revenue per year, what's kind of a minimum budget that they should plan on a good website?
I would say that should be closer to $2,500 to $10,000. And then your consistent SEO and constant improvement. Get your template up there, get your name out there, start trying to rank, and then just constantly improving and adding to that is the best way. Don't try to do it all at once. And that's probably what this company's done and why it cost them $40,000 is you can start with the basics and really make it a long way.
Yeah. Hey, Dillon, for any of the folks that's going to pop up in short reels that are marketing people and developing websites, just get ready for the negative comments coming our way. Oh, actually, Ashley just told us we could have a choice. We could respond accordingly, or we can, go Wendy's on them. Even though, I mean, I don't know what customers we really serve with our podcast, other than, well, Coors Light right now, obviously, is my customer I'm serving today. But anyway, it's just kind of funny to think that we may have a few marketing folks, and I agree with you on those price ranges, but I see these quotes, and some of them are $25,000, $30,000. I'm like, what are they building? Amazon?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Well, and most of those agencies now are using AI to assist them in most of that. So I can get a lot of my tasks done in half the time utilizing AI.
The size of the website obviously has a huge impact too. If you're a simple website, you're just like getting started as a contractor. You have a about me page, and here are the things that I could do. You may have 3 or 4 pages. There's no way you should be spending more than 1 or 2 grand on that. Don't waste your money starting out. Go on, some freelancer, Fiverr or something, and find someone to just get you going. Now, when you're sophisticated, you need to be swelling that and being able to take invoices into your website, or a more sophisticated blog. That sort of thing is going to make sense. Ashley, I want to switch gears a little bit and ask you about the leads that you already have. So, you've paid for some leads. They never converted. You never got them as a customer, but you still have their information. What do you do with it?
Oh, we definitely remarket to those customers all the time. We do email remarketing, and then we do text campaigns as well. That's kind of our best resource, especially when you're dealing with a low demand for leads, or hitting those lead targets on a weekly or monthly basis are becoming increasingly difficult. Hit the database. I mean, you've already paid for those leads. Hit those people up and try to get them to convert. And, sometimes it's one of those cases where maybe they didn't have the means to do it a year ago, or they didn't have the time, or we're dealing with a personal issue. And they've kind of put it in the back of their mind, and you're able to bring it back to the forefront and say, hey, remember us? Remember that free inspection? Why don't you have us back out, or whatever your service might be.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought that up, Ashley, because in the old days we thought like, hey, we didn't sell the job, or we didn't book the appointment. It's like pick up the phone and call them. But you're starting to integrate, email and text message. And I'm genuinely curious. You recently switched a lot of our text stuff to Hatch. How is that going? Like, and maybe describe what it is first, because I genuinely don't know. This shows you how naive I am, Dylan, in my own damn business. But anyway, like, how's that going, and what is it doing? It sounds cool.
Yeah, so we had Podium before, and essentially it's a platform that we use to communicate with our customers. And it's a centralized platform that our customer care department, myself, several people in the business, some of our inspectors were using, again, to communicate. And we switched to Hatch because they are a little more AI driven. And so we're working through setting that up, and we can actually train the bot to be pretty much like one of our customer care reps. A customer would never know they weren't speaking to someone at Vesta. And then it was more simplistic and a better approach. And the great thing about Hatch, and again, this isn't a paid advertisement, but it should be. The great thing about Hatch is they're exclusive to foundation repair contractors. And so that's what's made them really good for our business, is because that's all they service. And it's really been phenomenal. But their automations are awesome. So we can set people, it integrates with our CRM, and it triggers by various things in the customer's profile in the CRM. So if they cancel an appointment, they go into an automated campaign where we're texting them kind of behind the scenes and trying to get them to, reschedule that appointment. Same thing with unsold prospects or pending leads. And it's completely customizable to our business or your business and what you need.
That sounds so cool. Well, when I think about all this stuff, it's just like, man, we're automating so many things now with AI, but also the use of interfaces that are integrating. I mean, some of the AI-driven and automation functions of the text stuff, even in what I saw in Podium and now Hatch, you can remove, the need of another individual just sitting there texting or following up and all that just through automation. It's crazy what's going on with it. And by the way, it is okay, Ashley. It's not a paid advertisement, but we have actually, Dylan, we crossed a milestone this week. We're actually negotiating right now for some paid sponsors on the show, which is kind of cool. We never thought about that, but they got to pay us in beer, though. That's the only weird thing. Trying to figure that out with the accountants.
It's a high price.
But oh, yeah. Well, hold on. Last week you had Natty Light, so don't say it's a high price, Dylan. So, Ashley, this is perfect. I would love to see the look on Lex's face when a case of Natty Light shows up in your driveway. You'll be sleeping at my house, buddy. Hey, anyway.
She would have pride.
Pride my ass. She would have pride. Hey, anyway, so this is fitting, Ashley, because you're a Texan. And I always say, if you're going to screw it up like a Texan so you can brag about it. So, what's something in your career that you've done that maybe you screwed it up so bad you can brag about it nowadays?
I would say, and honestly, this has been since my time with Vesta, is just I let my ego kind of drive me a little bit and felt like I really had a good handle. And I took a back seat to my education and reading new articles on new and emerging trends. I was like, oh, AI is not that big of a deal. And now all of a sudden it's taken over like all of marketing. And once I started using it, I was like, mind blown. I could have been doing this for a year now, 2 years. But just keeping that in check and never feeling like I knew enough about something, because I definitely didn't. And then when I took the time to try to kind of catch up and just read some of the latest articles or understand something more in depth, I was like, God, I'm really behind, and was a little bit overwhelmed. And so I now, if I get an article in my email box and it's like, hey, check this out, or I'm a part of a lot of newsletters, I'm like, take the time to read it. Take the 5 minutes that it's going to take me to read this article, so that I understand these things a little better when they start to pop up, in my world.
Yeah, go ahead and read that article so they can start tracking you, Ashley. I'm just kidding.
I don't mind being tracked. They're tracking us anyways.
Well, listen, I know that you have helped so many people, not only in my company, but also some of the people that have been on this show, because you don't really have skin in the game. You're not out there trying to sell like a website build or something like that at this point. Right. And I've always appreciated the fact that I've been able to give out your name and number. We won't do it on the number on the show, but that you've been able to say, hey, why don't we just look at it? And then the person leaves. Michael Soto's a good example. Our friends at Jolly Goat Garage Doors are a great example of where it's like, we don't know what we're looking at here, and you've sat down with them. So how does someone get a hold of you in the event they just have some questions about this stuff?
Sure. So email is probably the best way to reach me. And for my business, it's Ashley, mktg.com. So that's ASHLEY at ASHERAMKTG.com.
Super thankful for that, Ashley. Super thankful for what you do. I mean, we share the same value of just like, man, we got to help people. We got to help people. We got to help people. So thank you for having that energy, not only with our team, but people outside of our company.
Well, I absolutely love doing it. And it's been very rewarding, because one of my clients, when I started consulting with him, he wasn't really reinvesting, in his business. He had been thriving off repeat and referral business, word of mouth, and he, didn't understand the importance of it. So kind of starting from scratch and watching that growth and development with him over the last year or so has been phenomenal and very rewarding for me.
Yeah, because he's taken what you told him and put it to action. So what today taught me is Dylan, what type of action are you going to take after the podcast? Which computer are you going to buy, Dylan, to replace your Osborne One?
No, I'm going to buy an Osborne One. That's the action that's necessary.
Dude, you show up with one of those things. Actually, you know what? I bet you they're collector's items now. Like, it's sitting as you know what? You bought an old house that was still had a bunch of stuff left over in it. So, we're getting off topic here. What's the weirdest find that you've had since moving into this old house?
In the attic, there's a just like box of old greeting cards, like literally hundreds of greeting cards. They're all empty, and they're like, they've been in the heat, like 100+ degree heat for 5 to 7 decades, probably waiting. So they're so fragile, but they're really cool.
Wow.
They're really cool. You're such a
That
weirdo.
is super neat.
By the way, I've been picking on you too much today, mainly because of the computer thing. But anyway, to all those listening, thank you for listening. We do get your messages. We see your comments. We comment on those. Please, depending on where you're at, leave us a review. Also, subscribe to the show. We're super excited. Coming up on the guest roster, we've been talking a lot about legal, things like that. We've got a few folks specifically around the contracts and attorney side that we're excited to bring to you. But cheers to all of you out there. Dylan, cheers to you, sir. Ashley, cheers to you. And thanks for listening to another episode of Beers with Contractors. Have an awesome week out there.
And that's a wrap for today's episode of Beers with Contractors. We hope you enjoyed our chat as much as we did. Before we say our final goodbyes, a friendly reminder. Beers with Contractors encourages responsible drinking. If you choose to enjoy a beverage during our time together, please do so in moderation and only if you're of legal drinking age in your country or state. Furthermore, the advice and insights shared in this podcast are for informational purposes only. Always consult with professionals and experts in your field, and be sure to follow local laws and regulations regarding licensing and permits. We're here to help, entertain, and inspire, but your safety and compliance are important. So, as you head out into the world of construction and contracting, remember to build responsibly and make decisions that stand the test of time. Thanks for joining us today. We'll catch you on the next episode of Beers with Contractors. Until then, cheers to your success.